Hello, it's me again, and this time I'm down on the beach. I'm in Salobrena. In fact, behind me over there, you can see, is the village that I went to yesterday, La Caleta, where I walked along. And it's quite an interesting village actually, because it's got an old sugarcane factory, which is got a bit of industrial architecture as well, industrial archaeology as well, if you're into that stuff. It's quite an interesting building, and I think it was the last sugarcane factory in Europe actually when it shut down. I'm not sure when it shut down, it wasn't that long ago. But behind me, up there is the Alcazar. I don't know if you can see it up there, which is where I was yesterday, and that's really the rock on which the town is. And if I come around a bit more, I don't know if you're actually between the two, you can see all the hills here, but that up there is the real sort of Sierra Nevada area. These sort of the foothills behind me, and then right in that gap is where the Sierra Nevada are properly, which I said you can see from down on the seafront. And the views around here at the moment have been amazing, because the weather's been quite strange actually. I know you've had it hot in the UK. It's been hot here, but not in the same way. We don't get that humidity, and we certainly don't get the thunderstorms that you've had. And if it does rain, as I said, it rains for about 20 minutes or 10 minutes, and that's it for the rest of the year, or type of thing. But it's actually been quite windy. I was talking to the owner of the sort of my favourite restaurant, which I go into, because the food's really good, and the restaurant staff are very, very good at what they do. And my friend Ainsley, who I was talking about the other day, who lives up the road there in Augiver, was commenting about how good they were. And one point he made actually, which I've noticed, is that over here being a waiter is actually like a profession. It's a respected profession, because you know, you see the same people in restaurants if you come to these places, and the way they do things, they're very attentive. You can see that they've learned how to present stuff, like I suppose you would do in like a major restaurant in the UK, a sort of a well-known restaurant in London or other places, other cities, etc. Obviously, but here this happens in places like this, and I've noticed it before. In Seville, in some of the small bars in Seville, like Las Teresas is one I've been to, and Le Reconcilio that I mentioned, the really old bar in Seville. And the guys that work in there, they're in their 60s, they're in their 70s, and they're dressed in the nice, you know, they've got shirt and tie on and black trousers. So see, and it sort of reinforced that this is a lifelong job for them, you know, and it's a worthwhile job, and it's a proud job. It's a job in this sort of time. So that was one of them. But in there we were talking about I'm jumping all over the place again, aren't I? But we were talking about the wind. I said it's very windy, and he said it's quite unusual, because the wind was actually coming more or less from the sea, from the south, which is quite unusual. And it's quite windy actually, because coming down the beach they had the red flags flying. As I said, it might have been sunny like this, although we did have that rain, but you couldn't really go in the sea. Today the sea is, you know, the proverbial mill pond, I suppose, but it's quite cold. I've just been in it actually. It's quite cold, and but that's, you know, coming from a British point of view, it's probably quite warm actually, like a warm bath, but it certainly isn't that. But last night, literally, while we were in the restaurant, and I was in the restaurant, and we were sort of chatting, and he said the wind's changed. The wind had suddenly dropped, and then the wind had changed direction. The wind was actually coming from the hills, and he said when it comes from there, it's generally warmer because it's coming from inland rather than from across the sea. And the weather's changed today. Today there's a breeze, but it's a lovely day here. And another thing I will mention actually, because another thing we were discussing, because the guy, I can't remember what his name is, who runs the restaurant, speaks very, very good English, because he lived in England. He comes from here, Salobrena. And he's got a little cortillo just outside, a little farm where he farms some of the mango and some of the produce that he uses in the restaurant, which is great. But he also lived in Mallorca for a number of years and worked out there. But he also worked in Malaga, and he worked in England. He worked in Hampshire for a while, and knows that sort of New Forest area, and he knows Essex. And we were saying about, you know, I said, what did you think? He said, I loved it over there. And he said, I really loved the history. And he said, if I didn't live here, I'd probably live there. And I said, well, that's a very interesting point, because, you know, I feel the other way around in a way. Love England, but I could quite happily live here. And mate, it got me thinking, that's talking about the sort of similarities between the two countries, because they've both got coastlines, obviously varying climates. That's a given, isn't it? But the people are very good. The people are very friendly. Over here, I think generally they are in the UK, and pretty welcoming and as well, accepting generally, as we said. But the history as well, he was going on about history, and I said, well, you've got wonderful history here, especially in this part of Spain. I mean, I don't know so much about the rest of it, but I mean, the Romans were here. There's Roman ruins around here in parts of, I think it was the Mesquita in Cordoba. There's actually a Roman mosaic underneath where the mosque and the church are. So, and then you've got all the Moorish history, the Islamic history, which started in the 500s, 600s or something like that. Then you've got all the Roman Catholic history and everything else. So there's a lot going on here, so there are quite a lot of parallels, and also there's quite a lot of parallels, I think, between this place, Salobrena specifically, and Hastings. I mean, there's a hill there with a castle on the top. It's on the south coast of the particular country. It's got a mix of old and new. There's the old town there, which is, you know, I'm staying up in the White Village there. You've got an old town, you've got a new town, etc. So there are quite a lot of similarities between the two. Maybe that's why the Spanish and the English generally get along, as opposed to maybe us and Italians and Germans or French, we tend to have more run-ins with. I know we had the issue with the Armada and that back in the 1500s, but we soon sorted them out, and after that we've been pretty good, haven't we? And that's why so many of us have moved over here in the long time, in the meantime. So I think I'll leave it there. I'm going to sit on the beach today. I've done a lot of walking around even when I've been here, and just exploring, and, you know, because it hasn't been particularly great for sitting here. I've been sitting up on the terrace in the house, which isn't a bad problem to have, is it? To sit up there in the sun or in the shade and read, drink, listen to the radio, listen to music. I've actually been listening to the Radio 4 Today programme, and I've been getting up in the morning and having my breakfast on the terrace and just sort of listening to what's going on at home and hearing about all the storms and things like that have been happening specifically today. I don't know when you'll see this. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to sit here, and I found a place that's got free Wi-Fi. So I'll try and grab a bit of that if I can, and just have a drink and check up on things and try and upload the odd video as well. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there and enjoy myself on the beach. Adios.